Hello there, my name is Bizzleberry and this is a video on how to improve how you play at League of Legends. I know that sounds pretty broad, but I'll be covering a fair few amount of topics here. And at the start here we're going to be talking about UI settings, and then we're going to be going into a little bit more what you can do in your games and how you can adjust your playstyle accordingly. Just to give myself some credentials, I'm Bizzleberry. I'm a support main currently. I have been playing League of Legends for about 10 years now, and I've hit Challenger, or the highest role in the season, in both mid lane, AD carry, and support. So, the first thing I want to talk about that a lot of other people don't even consider even talking about is UI settings and what you can do to improve what you can actually even see and do in the game. So the first thing I would highly recommend you doing is reducing the HUD scale down from the 100 as default. And it's quite big, it's quite obtrusive. Once you get a good idea on how the abilities work in League anyway, a lot of this information is irrelevant, and it takes up a lot of screen. It really does, and it's quite in your face. I'd advise you to put it down to 0, and that makes it as small as possible, but you can still have a slight idea of what is going on here just with a quick glance. So that's my first suggestion, giving you a little bit more on a little bit easier to see on the eyes, so it gives you more things to see on the map or in the in-game screen. Secondly, I want to suggest that you put mana costs on your abilities. So you can, I don't know if you can see here because I put it down to 0, but on the corner of each of these spells, you can see how much mana each one of your abilities casts. This is incredibly useful, especially when you're learning a champion, or even if you play lots of different champions, and sometimes you can forget how much mana something costs, and you can then weigh up, if you are low on mana, if you can do the correct combo. So for example, in this instance, I would need 130 mana to be able to do a hook and then a flay, or 230 mana to do a hook, flay, and an ultimate. So some quick math can also help here, but that's another way how you can actually weigh up going into certain situations whenever in the game, to make sure that you have enough resources to be able to make the play happen. So that's another big tip. You can find that setting right here under ability and attack display, and that will show how much mana, and that will make a good difference. That's actually really surprising on how much that actually makes a difference. Other UI things that you can do here are you can assign a communication button to, where is it? Area is warded ping. So this does this ping here, which is not set anywhere in the menu. You can't assign this. This isn't manually assigned when you first start League of Legends up. You have to actually bind this key. So this is the area is warded ping, and this is incredibly useful. I have this actually bound on mouse button 4. So if, for example, you're pushed under tower here and your jungler's trying to make a play, you can immediately tell them coming in through that way is a bit risky, because the enemy's gonna know that they are there if they're paying attention to the minimap. So that's usually a good indicator. Another thing that you should consider using in your games is smart casting. So that's under the hotkeys section here, and you can do quick cast on everything here. So if you can do quick cast all, or you can individually manually assign each ability with one of these little arrow things underneath, and once that is checked, that will cause quick cast to happen. So if you're not sure exactly what quick cast is, so instead of getting the indicator, the range indicator here of the actual hook, in this case it's Thrasher's Q, if I instead just press Q, it will come out straight away immediately. Now this is something that I feel, for me, helped improve my overall gameplay considerably. It took about 10 to 15 games. It may take you more or less, depending on how common you are playing these champions, because you should have a relative idea on ranges anyway. But I feel the extra 0.1, 0.2 milliseconds does help in these precise skill shots that need to come out instantly, such as the thresh hooks and any other like stun skill shots. For me, it's incredibly important that you get that down. Also, even targeted abilities, you don't need to have, I haven't got an ability here, I guess Ignite is probably the perfect example. So you don't need to have the indicator. You can easily just have that on Smartcast to just whack it on straight away to be much quicker in those casts as well. Another option that another players, particularly new players, suffer with is locked camera screen. So if you're not sure what that is, it's where the screen just follows your character around and you don't need to push your mouse towards the borders in order to move the camera, because it's permanently set on top of your camera. Now, as a new player learning League of Legends, this could be an okay feature, but in the long run, this is going to hinder you. I get a lot of people coming into Twitch chat asking, how can I learn not to use locked camera screen? And there is no cheeky hidden feature answer here. You just need to turn it off. So on the minimap here, there's this camera setting button. Let me hide myself, or whee, up we go. Just under here, next to the minimap on the left, you've got the camera setting option. If you press that one time, then it will free up your camera and it will allow you to move the camera when you put your mouse to the edge of the map or to the edge of your screen even. Now there's so many good things about keeping your camera off locked that it is a must, and yes, it will be absolutely painful the first few games that you try and play without locked. Try not to give up and just try and persevere as best you can. You will get used to it, I absolutely promise you. If you do ever lose track of yourself in fights, you can always press spacebar and this will put your camera right back into the center. You can even hold spacebar if you wish and it will still follow your camera. And it will also give you the arrow indicator and a circle underneath as well. So the benefits of freeing up your locked camera is, well, exactly that. So when you're in laning phase, your camera is way far on the left hand side and it gives you a much more indicator of knowing where the enemy is going to be further up in the lane. Whereas if I was locked camera right now, I would barely be able to even get an idea halfway in the lane. Whereas freeing up my camera, I can nearly see, you know, into the river, and we would have vision here because there would be wards here. But yeah, so hopefully that gives you an idea. These are some very seemingly minor things, but these things will actually enhance your gameplay a vast amount. Probably the locked screen is probably the most important here. Smart casting can help. It's not guaranteed it's going to help everyone, but it can help you. The UI you should do. The mana numbers on your spells as well is a really extra big help, and it's very, very subtle and it's not in your way at all, and it's something I feel like everyone should be using anyway. One other thing in regards to the UI settings that I want to make sure that you also have set is when you use an ability. So for example, in this case, I'm going to use my thresh hook and actually having the timer timed down on when it's exactly going to come off cooldown. If you don't have this set for yourself already, you can find this option right here, just under the ability and attack display. And then your setting may be on none. So this is giving you no indicator of when your abilities are coming off cooldown. Like for example, the thresh, the ultimates here, that's giving me no indicator whatsoever of when this is coming off cooldown. Whereas you can put it I personally put mine on seconds, and it's going to tell you exactly when your abilities are going to be ready for you to make the next play, or, you know, it's just incredibly useful information. It's very minor things that I know some people don't even have set. So hopefully these UI tips will help you, and then we'll be moving on to the next subject. Okay, now the next topic I want to talk about is communication in your games. Now this is a very heated thing. A lot of people have their own opinions on how to handle situations. The number one thing I want you to bear in mind is try to keep your cool no matter what the situation. Bear in mind the people that you're going to be playing with, you're probably not going to come across them again. And if someone does make a bad play, or if someone does start a flaming conversation in chat or even targeting at you, do your absolute best to shrug it off and ignore them. Try not to even reply. And you can take that a step further by muting. So when you press tab, hold tab, and you'll see people's nameplates. In the corner here, in the corner of the scoreboards, you'll see a mute ping and mute emotes and mute chat. Now the mute chat is the one that you probably be looking for, and you should just mute their chat. If they're showing any signs of aggravation, etc., just mute the individual chat. That is my recommendation when you start seeing people flame. Try not to get yourself involved into these discussions, because people typing in the game gets them killed a lot. It causes even more aggravation. It's just a snowballing effect. Just shrug it off, and that's all you can do really, and then report them at the end of the game if you feel like you need to. Getting into heated conversations in a competitive game, it's never going to end well, and will just make you feel upset and angry after every game. So avoid spam pinging as well. So another common thing as well is if you're, say for example, a jungler makes a bad play in bot lane, and then you start spamming question mark pings. I mean, everyone's seen it, right? Just don't do it. And if anyone does start doing mass pinging like that, then that's when you want to also mute them on the pings as well. Pings is usually the last resort in terms of muting, because you can still communicate a lot in the game in terms of just using your pings, like on my way is a good one, or I'm missing bot lane, so you can do question mark ping. You can do warning that that the mid lane might be able to be ganked with the danger ping. You can tell your jungler that there are wards planted here, so they can't pass through that way. There's so many things you can do with the pings to communicate, and there's only 5 pings in the game. So you use the ping tools as your main form of communication, and if you're not using pings already, I would highly advise you to start getting used to the League of Legends ping system, as it will be a much quicker form of communication, and there's a lot of information that can be just done with one ping. Okay, now we're going to be talking in terms of actual gameplay. Now I'm not just going to just say things that get better at the game. That's not productive or helpful for anyone. So the things that you can do to improve in terms of gameplay in League of Legends is, well, playing the game. I would suggest if you are a new player or a player in the lower ELO brackets between iron and bronze, maybe low silver, you should be playing the game about 60 to 70% of the time, and then the other 30 to 40%, depending on how much free time you have and able to actually play games, is what I would call research. Now research could be anything from understanding what the best current champions to play in your favorite role is, so keeping up to date with a vague idea of who tier lists can help. I know the meta in lower ELOs isn't necessarily fit the lower brackets, but it is always a good idea to know which champions are considered overpowered or particularly very strong, and you want to always try and lean towards those type of champions, or lean towards that exact champion. It is always a good way to improve your win rates in League by playing the actual best champions in the game. Secondly, you can improve your gameplay by watching other streamers, asking questions, and not just any streamers. I'm talking about high level streamers that are willing to answer your questions and give you good feedback. Twitch.tv/Bizzleberry. But there are people willing out there, and other content creators and YouTube videos out there that I have made and other content creators have made, that will answers specific questions. So if you have questions, make sure you get them answered. There's no point, going into games with wrong item builds and picking wrong items or wrong champions, because I've seen so many people one trick pony, say for example Zyra. Okay, here's an example. If you one trick pony Zyra and you are still using Dark Harvest, that is probably setting you back down quite a bit, because it's unlikely that you're snowballing every single game. A lot of people that in League and in MOBAs in general, they find their favorite champion, they play almost every game with that champion, but they also take every item and every rune is exactly the same, or almost exactly the same every single game. And you need to learn to adjust your runes. The runes are always adjustable depending on what you're coming up against. So say for example you're a mage and you're against a lot of assassins, then you might want a stopwatch. And just asking yourself things like that, and keeping once again in the trend of what are the best item builds for your favorite champions is a really good idea. Just refresh yourself once every couple of weeks or every patch. Just have a quick glimpse over. I personally like using a website called probuilds.net. That will give you a list of all of the top tiered professional players playing your champion, and then it will give you a good idea on what kind of items and rune builds that they're going. Yes, some of the professional players take different items and builds depending on who they are, but it gives you a good idea, okay, 80% of these people are going Aftershock on Thresh, 20% on Guardian. I'm not too familiar with Thresh, so let's just go Aftershock. That seems to be the most popular one, and it'll give you, and the same with the item builds and things like that, and that will give you the best advantage when coming into these solo queue games, because there's no point going in with a I'll just wing it. You can set yourself up, and when you're in champion selection you can set yourself up to knowing what you want to play and what you want to build. So make sure you have that sort of mindset. Another thing in terms of gameplay, what you can do is always play for the objectives. I cannot say that enough. Always, please always play for the objectives. It's very easy, as if you're especially ahead in a game and it feels like you just want to go around and slaughter everyone, get the triple kill, the pentakill. But if you want, especially in your ranked games, if you care about winning your ranked games, then please always go for the objectives. Plenty of times I see, even in high ELO, is you're ahead at 8 minutes, there's a Cloud Drake, no one wants to do the Cloud Drake. But what you should do is you should do the Cloud Drake. Just get the Cloud Drake down. The next Drake could be a Mountain or an Infernal Drake, and also it gives you that late game protection for when it becomes the Elder Dragon. The more Drakes you have, the stronger your Elder Drake buff will be. So it gives you that late game protection if in case anything does happen. And it only, especially when you're ahead, when taking a dragon only takes about 10 seconds of your time as well. So always try and play for objectives, whether it's for around a tower, around a herald, a drake, a baron. You always want to be fighting for a reason. If there's no point, for example, having a fight down mid lane when there's nothing to be gained from it in terms of towers. So if both tier 1 towers are down and we're kind of ramming it down mid, it's just going to be completely random who's going to win the outcome of that fight, because it just means one person and someone's team is going to have to make that mistake. Whereas if you're playing for an objective, getting things warded, control wards as well, incredibly important no matter what role you're playing on. Please make sure if you've got spare change, buy control wards. Thank you. But all of these things will help you in your games. And now one last other topic I want to kind of brush over that people don't genuinely think about when they're signing up to solo queue games in League is distractions outside of your environment, whether that's streaming, whether that's eating, whether that's, oh, in 30 minutes I need to go do something, but I'll just sneak in a League of Legends game before I do that, and then the game ends up stressing you out because you're running out of time, and then you may have to do some really stupid aggressive plays and then lose the game that way. I think that would be called like outside game tilt. So there are other things outside that could tilt you in your games, and you want to mitigate that as much as possible. You're feeling hungry, go eat and then play some League if you've got time. You've got an appointment in 30 minutes, don't risk it. Don't put yourself under that added pressure going into a League of Legends game. Just sign up another time. Just so many basic elements like that in your out of game situation will help your quality of life in League. It will help you 100%. I'm sure there's plenty of you, myself included, who has signed up to a game, you know, oh, just squeeze in a League of Legends game. The game then it's that one game that ends up being 50 minutes long. And then not only are you annoyed because you missed your appointment, but you know, you probably might end up losing the game as well. So there are elements here that you can do. It's not just about, you know, improving your mechanics, getting mechanically better, understanding every single matchup. That hopefully the tips I've given you is something that you can use no matter what role you're in, and it will hopefully tune your attitude and help you with some UI settings as well, and how to hopefully increase your chances in winning your ranked games, even if it's just by a few percent, because a few percent win increase over a long period of time will be a lot of games. So yeah, I hope that helps you. If you want to ask me any questions, you're more than welcome to in the comments section down below if you feel I've missed something. I also stream on twitch.tv/Bizzleberry, and you're more than welcome to join our largely support community, I should say, of League of Legends players on discord.gg/Bizzleberry. Hope this video helps you out, and if you do need more guides in particular geared towards support, feel free to check out the guides area on my YouTube channel. Take care.